Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog in the animal.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks. This is the show where two geeks geek out with beer. Tim is not here today. I'm Frank, and with me is my sister, Steph.
Hi.
Hey. This is fun. This is gonna be cool. So we've been wanting to get together and podcast together for a while. So we grew up together in the 90s.
Yes, we did.
And we watched a lot of movies together, a lot of TV together, we shared a lot of obsessions as kids. Like Smallville was an obsession that we had when we were teenagers.
Oh, yeah. That was a big one.
That was a big one for us.
And you're welcome, by the way.
Yeah, you actually...
I was the one who turned you on to Smallville. I want that to be out there.
I think for the record, actually, that should be said. Yeah, as much as I really ran with it, and I was really into it for all the Superman reasons, you were into it from a little bit from a Superman perspective, but also from like the teen drama perspective. That was how you kind of got into it at first, I think, right?
Yeah.
And I was
young. I was maybe like 12 when something like that.
Yeah,
so I was into that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You were the right age for that aspect of it, and you helped me look past that and enjoy the Superman aspect of it. So, but we've shared a lot of sessions over the years, and we're going to talk about one of them today. But before we do, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Naparbier Black Christmas.
Black Christmas, yeah.
It's a wonderful dark ale.
It is Belgian. I tried a little bit of it. It's really good. I am having a red white from Mikkeller, which is a Danish brewery, and this is it's a combination of a Belgian wheat beer and a British red ale, and it's really, really good, actually. It's really good. So, it's, Christmas is not far behind us, and we're still enjoying some winter beers. So, Indeed. All right, well, cheers to that. Listen, let's talk about one of the movies, maybe the movie that, at a certain age, I feel like was the movie you watched more than anything else.
I feel like it's fair to say that most kids, especially little girls, are watching this movie all the time.
The Wizard of Oz is I think still at some point it was the movie that has been seen by more people than any other movie. I'm not sure if that's still true.
To be honest, I don't know if it's still true, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
It's a classic.
It is. It came out in 1939, right? Same year as Gone with the Wind. It is a rather old movie, but has this timelessness to it, this like storybook timelessness to it that everyone can get on board with and love. So do you remember seeing this movie for the first time?
I don't, only because it's one of those movies that I feel like I was born and the movie was just playing.
Yeah.
It was always there.
Yeah.
It was always there. I remember how we used to watch it, though. It used to be, we had probably recorded it off TV.
Yeah.
Because it was on like this VHS tape
with
the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how we used to watch it for a long time.
That's how we watched a lot of things. I mean, and I've made reference to that on this show before. Like just how many movies and shows. I mean, Tim and I have talked about lots of things where I remember, oh yeah, we recorded that off TV. Like Robin Hood is one that comes to mind.
Yes.
We recorded that off TV.
I still like to watch that one on the old tape.
On the old VHS tape.
Part of the experience of watching the movie for me is like watching the commercials from like 1994.
The Lego commercials.
Whatever was on there. Yeah.
I remember some specific ones. But yeah, so this movie was no different. I feel the same way. I don't really remember the first time I saw it. It was just sort of ingrained, in our childhood. I do remember I remember the first time we watched, so we had that VHS copy that we watched. Yep. And then eventually we got a DVD copy of it that had all these bonus features, and we were able to kind of enjoy it on a new level, right? And like watch all the bonus, like there was that Angela Lansbury
it had
special.
Hours is
hours and hours of bonus footage.
Like actual hours.
We really geeked out on this movie
Yeah.
at a certain age because we I don't think most people are that into it. I think a lot of kids watched it over and over again, but I don't think anyone is really into, Busby Berkeley and the...
Nobody cares about like the technical aspects.
Yeah.
We're very movie people. You know,
Yes.
like, that's how we were as kids. We still are. Like we care not just about like the story that's going on, but like I know that when I watch something that I like to look it up. Like I want to know about like the director. I want to know the director's wife. I want to know all this weird stuff.
Which, if you're looking for that with this movie, there is plenty of it.
Tons of that stuff
with
out there.
The Victor Fleming, like all his backstory, and he was
yeah.
working on With the Wind at the same time, and
Yep.
all his shenanigans off camera.
Ingrid Bergman shenanigans.
Yes, right. So yeah, we are definitely sort of obsessive when it comes to that, and this movie I think is one of the first examples that I remember of getting that into something with this movie, and like all the information that we downloaded in our brains about even like the story about what was his name, the original Tin Man, Buddy Ebsen.
Yep.
Right. So
and his makeup mishaps.
Yeah. So they used when they first made the Tin Man makeup, when they were doing, Buddy Ebsen was cast. He later went on to do the Beverly Hillbillies, but he was originally cast as the Tin Man, and they used an aluminum powder. Is that right?
I
for
believe
the makeup.
So. I know it had aluminum in
yeah,
it.
and but the powder he ended up inhaling it, and he was very allergic to it, and it made him horribly ill, to the point where he had to be hospitalized. He couldn't breathe. They had to recast Jack Haley in the role, and Buddy Ebsen had breathing problems for the rest of his life because of that.
It screwed him up that
right.
bad.
And when they recast Jack Haley, they used an aluminum paste so it wouldn't be as inhalable.
There's another mishap on the set there too, that actually, when you watch the movie, you can actually see it in real time happening, because that's the take that they used. So it's in Munchkinland.
Mm-hmm.
The Wicked Witch of the West is about, you know how she disappears in like her big cloud of smoke?
Oh yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
They
Yes.
had how they did that. They had like a little elevator like underneath her feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's how she quote unquote disappeared.
Yeah, there'd be like a pyrotechnic explosion,
Yes.
and then
And
the cloud of smoke, the
she
elevator
just
would bring her
carried
down.
What happened on the take that we see the first time she does that, when she's exiting Munchkinland, she goes down with the elevator, but she actually caught fire because it's again with that aluminum paste or powder.
Oh, was it that again?
Because she had that too on her face. That's the green stuff, and it was flammable, and her face caught fire.
See, I had read that,
and she got 3rd-degree burns.
Yeah,
but they couldn't refilm it because that was like
it was
really hard thing to do. So they kept it. Like we're watching her get like burned every time.
I mean, you can't tell,
morbid.
but yes, that's what's happening.
You can't tell, but it's horrible.
And I had read that part of it though was that the elevator didn't go down at the time it was supposed to, so that's why she was still above ground for the explosion.
Yes, I think there was a slightly off,
like a
couple
delay.
of seconds in timing, and then like she was kind of like falling without the thing underneath her or something. You know, it was pretty scary.
Yeah, it is scary. Yeah. So I mean, it was at the early days of, well, not quite the early days of color movies anymore. We're over 10 years into that, but it was an early high budget special effects film. Right, that was a lot of the effects that we see in this film. We wouldn't even think twice about today. But even just the idea of like the tornado and like the house flying.
Even
and stuff.
I was just going to say, like, even something that like looks kind of stupid to us, like they're just using a little model, like of course, but like people didn't really think to do that much.
This was the invention of a lot of these
that
techniques.
Was a huge deal.
Yeah,
and the funnel being
a
silk stocking.
Yes, yeah, right. The like, tornado,
right,
is actually a big silk stocking that was like twisted around, and on that DVD in the bonus features they had a really, really long shot. I mean, like 10-minute long shot of the tornado contraption being turned on and slowly revving up, and then moving in the background of this little model neighborhood that looked like the farm,
yep.
and then revving down as it slowed down, and you can watch the whole thing, and it actually looks very real. Even today, it looks pretty real when you watch it in context of like it moving in the background. But when you see it getting turned on and turned off, it's like, oh, it's just a toy. It's just a model.
Just a little toy.
It's like your little like.
And they reused like the shot. You know that there's that one shot right before she lands in Munchkinland.
Yes.
Where you see the house, coming toward the camera.
Towards the camera, yeah.
They used that same shot backwards and forwards.
Oh, in different.
Because when they wanted it to look like the house was flying up
Mm-hmm,
into the
they just reversed
tornado,
it.
they would reverse it, and then they were,
Yeah, they did a lot of
there
things
was
like
a guy
that.
up on like a big boom and like,
Yeah.
throw the house
Throwing
down
it,
or
dropping
whatever.
like this toy
Yeah.
house down at the camera. What? Do you have a favorite character in this movie?
That's very hard.
I know, right?
As a little girl, I loved you remember that, like, I loved Dorothy,
Of course,
obviously, and
yeah.
I wanted to dress up like her.
You were her for Halloween a couple
I was
times,
her
right?
for Halloween, and it didn't even have to be Halloween because I would just dress up like her. I had a little basket. I had Mom get me a little dog. I put him in, just
Yeah, you had a little Toto.
Yeah.
Toto too.
But like actual favorite character, I don't know. I guess the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
A
Scarecrow.
little bit the lion because he's just very funny.
I think Scarecrow is for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I kind of maybe because he's so
you
like.
see him more than the other two.
That's true.
Honestly, because you get introduced to him first. Clearly, Dorothy has some kind of favoritism.
She even
about the
straight up.
Scarecrow.
I'm gonna miss you most of all. I always felt as a kid.
Ouch.
As a kid watching that part, I was always like, you can't say that out loud.
What are the other guys gonna think about
Yeah,
this?
they're
Like,
right.
Seriously,
They can hear you.
we all just went through like something pretty traumatic.
We just what? We killed a
You
witch
have
and
the
then
balls.
what? And now you're telling me what? I'm not even your like my top 3. I mean, do you like the Flying Monkeys better than me? What's going on here?
Dorothy had very weird priorities.
She did. Yeah, I can see that though. Dorothy and the Scarecrow. Yeah, you see him more than anybody else, and he's clearly Dorothy's favorite.
He has a lot of good one-liners, I feel like.
He does, and he's such like a goofball, and he's so dopey and funny. I think he's my favorite. I think Tin Man would be after that for me, though. Lion is lower on my list. He's fun. He's funny.
I just
he's
like
a little
the
too
Lion
goofy
because he's so like stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean
he's kind of relatable because I'm afraid of everything too.
Sure,
So it's
sure.
like
he's kind of the perfect type of character for a kids movie like that. You
Yeah.
know, because he is just sort of the comic relief at every
Right.
turn. He's constantly
put him up.
put him up. He's funny, and they're all funny at different points, and they all have one-liners, and they all have funny jokes and gags and things. But he's like for the kids. I feel like more than the rest.
Yeah, I mean the whole movie's for the kids, I guess. But
Yeah, but I mean more than anybody else. I feel like
Yeah.
that's him. Favorite song, or a few of your favorite songs.
you know, actually, besides "Over the Rainbow," because I
Mhm.
feel like that's like you have to say that, and it
Sure.
is true. I actually think it's a beautiful song.
Sure, yeah.
I actually love the song that they sing when they get to the Emerald City, the Merry Old Land of Oz.
Merry Old Land of Oz.
I love that song. I don't know what it is about that song. I just love it. Whenever I listen to the soundtrack, which I do kind of often because I love this movie, that's like the song I play the most. It's
That's
very
good.
very
Really,
upbeat, cute, catchy.
it is not
just
what I
love
would
it.
not what I'd expect.
Yeah, because
actually.
it's not like a big deal of a song. I just always love that song.
It's not like not the most well-known song from the movie necessarily. You know what I mean?
It's not
Like
at all, because it's very short. It's very like a passing thing. I think I love the lyrics of it too. It's just very cute. They describe like how like people work for an hour a day and like everyone's happy and like that's it. This is what it's like to live here.
it is. It
And
is
it's
a
very cute.
pretty utopian kind of
Yeah.
notion. I like that song. I do think it's a little underrated, so I'm with you on that. It's an interesting choice. It's not what I was expecting you to say, actually. I really like "If I Only Had a Brain," specifically the Scarecrow's. One.
That is a real
Because obviously they all do their version of
question though.
"If I Only Had a Heart," "If I Only Had the Noive." Yeah. Question.
The noise. Question. So, do you prefer the film version of that or the uncut version that had the whole dance number in it?
So yeah, there is a longer extended cut that was they reduced down for time, because if they had kept it, then the Scarecrow's part would have been like 10 minutes long, and the other two guys would have had like 2-minute
Again,
versions.
Scarecrow favoritism.
I know. Well, they clearly had like grand plans for this movie
For Ray Bolger. in
for Ray
particular.
Bolger. Yeah. No, I really like his version. I think I do like the extended cut, and I've heard it now and seen it. Watched it. You can actually watch the full thing. It's on YouTube.
It's like one of those things that's like not such a secret anymore. It's like
yeah,
it's like
no,
a popular
it's been
unknown
on
fact.
DVD bonus features and things like that. So yeah, I do like that uncut version quite a bit actually, and I do sometimes. I don't remember the last time I actually watched the movie all the way through. It's been a while, but the last couple times that I have, I found myself hearing the like extended cut in my mind and like expecting to go off.
Continuing it yourself. Even though the song ended. I know. I've done that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think on the DVD that I have, you have like 2 ways to watch the movie. I think it's like with.
Oh, really?
That. I think so. Unless I could be making that
cool.
up, but I feel like I've had that option before.
I always like when they give you that option and you can watch. You can watch with extended scenes or deleted scenes put back in. You have the option of like watch it with or the theatrical cut. Like I always enjoy when they give you that option. But yeah, I like that cut quite a bit. But either way, I think it's such a fun song, and I like the jokes and gags and with the thoughts you'd be thinking you could be another Lincoln. Like I like the rhymes and the little puns and the little jokes in it in the Scarecrow's song more, I think, than any other.
I also feel like the Scarecrow's version of that in particular has a lot of like references that adults would get.
Yeah, I agree.
Not in a dirty way at all.
No,
I'm
no.
talking just like jokes that
for the parents, jokes for the parents to get. So this movie is in general this is what I always sort of refer to as like Muppet humor. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly.
Because the Muppets are what makes the Muppets so timeless and so enjoyable for families and for people of all ages is that they're operating on multiple levels at once, and they always have. That's been like baked into the tradition of the Muppets since the start, and since Jim Henson started it. So you've got jokes that are meant for the kids, obviously, but then there's jokes that go over the kids' heads that are not inappropriate or not dirty or anything like that. They're just going over the kids' heads because they're meant for like an older generation, making references to celebrities the parents would know or whatever, something like that. And it doesn't disrupt from the kids though.
Not at all. It doesn't make them feel left out. Like, wait,
right?
What?
You just completely miss it, and you don't stop and think like, wait, what was that joke? I didn't get it. You just don't even know there was a joke there.
And then it adds to your enjoyment because over years and years, you're going to be
you can
old,
when
and
you
can
get
still
older,
watch the Muppets and not feel weird about it.
When you get older, you'll appreciate it on the level you already liked it, and then on a new level as well. And that's what this movie does as well, because it has a lot of those jokes. So you're right. This song has that kind of humor built into it. It's and really throughout. Like I would say that the wizard character does a lot of that kind of stuff, and not just the wizard. Anybody played by Frank
Morgan.
Frank Morgan, yeah. Throughout the film, the guy at the who rang that bell? Like that guy is kind of like that too.
The professor who's kind of like a scam artist.
Oh yes, exactly. Yeah.
He's
very
a
much
scam
so.
artist who has a heart, though.
Yeah. He's a con artist with a heart.
Yes, he clearly runs this business.
He's a fake fortune teller.
He doesn't know what to do, but he's such a good guy because when he pieces together that Dorothy is running away from home, he uses clues about her, like the picture she's carrying, like stuff that she's carrying with her in her basket, whatever, and like her suitcase. He uses that to make her realize you need to go home, little girl. Like you have a family who loves you. They're probably worried about you. Just go home.
Just go home.
You know, it's sweet actually.
It is actually, yeah. As a kid, it's actually kind of scary because he's saying all these horrible things that they're getting old, whatever. They need you and everything's terrible. And if only someone would go back to them. And she's like, oh no, I need to go back.
Your Aunt Em looks like she's sick. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And it freaks her out because she's like a little kid and she doesn't know that she thinks he's actually reading the future or whatever. Right.
So and if you're watching it as a kid, you're like, oh no.
You might not even pick up on that. Honestly, I didn't pick up on that. I thought he really was like a psychic.
Me
or whatever.
Too. As a kid, I did.
When you're older, you're like, look how nice that old man is being. He's trying to help her get home. And
he's just doing the right thing basically.
Doing a public service. And
he doesn't charge her, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So. That's true. That's a good thing to bring up. I think the Frank Morgan character. So he's operating on multiple levels, like Muppet humor. All the Frank Morgan characters do, I guess. He, if I just blew anybody's mind by pointing out that all three of those people were played by the same actor, then I don't really know what to.
Are there people who don't notice that?
I don't know. I wonder.
Even as a kid, when there are a lot of things I wasn't picking up on, I do think that I picked up on that.
I think I did. I mean, I definitely. Okay, so definitely.
Maybe I didn't, but I feel like I always knew.
The one thing that I think everyone of all ages can pick up with this movie is that the people in the black and white parts also have roles.
Farmhands.
The farmhands.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I guess just the farmhands. The Aunt Em and I almost said Uncle Owen.
Wrong movie.
Uncle Henry.
Yes.
Uncle Henry.
Yep.
They don't have parts in the Munchkinland.
They don't.
The
No.
Oz parts, but but the farmhands and
Miss Gulch.
Miss Gulch and the wizard guy there,
The fortune teller.
Fortune teller. What was his name?
Professor Marvel.
Marvel. So they all do, and obviously it's the same actors playing. Miss Gulch is obviously the witch and all this stuff.
And they have, and this is something that I kind of just realized now that I'm talking. Like, so they all have parallels, obviously.
Yes. Yes,
well,
right. Like Miss Gulch being like the villain in her real life is the villain in her fantasy life as well.
I didn't just notice that part.
Well, yeah.
Because the farmhands is pretty obvious, like the brain, courage, and the heart and whatever, and then her being like kind of a bitch, and then whatever. So that is pretty obvious, but I didn't really
kind
realize,
of a witch, you mean?
Kind of a witch. What I didn't really realize is that Professor Marvel is a con artist, and so is a wizard. Like,
oh,
that
sure,
part
yeah.
I don't know why it took me till now to realize that.
But he also gets to the actor Frank Morgan gets to be not just the wizard, but also the guy at the door who lets them into Emerald City, and also the
cabbie.
Cabbie. Does he have any other parts? It's just those, right?
I don't think so. I think it's those 4.
And it kind of makes me wonder, like, is it supposed to be? Like, is it supposed to be the wizard is doing all these roles?
I
don't think so either.
I think that Frank Morgan at his time was, like, a very popular, like, old actor.
Yeah.
He was known for that kind of stuff, and they wanted this, like, that was his, like, fame. Like,
right.
He's all over this movie.
He was good at doing characters and things like that.
He was
a radio actor. He was, I think, a vaudeville actor too.
Apparently, he's so good that some people don't realize that all of those roles are him. So
yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. But see, he's super fun.
Yep.
I think he gets to have a lot of fun in this movie. Burt Lahr gets to have a lot of fun in this movie as the lion.
Yes, he had to wear that suit was 90 pounds.
90 pounds, yeah.
And it was very hard for him to get in and out
of course.
So when they would like break for lunch or like bathroom breaks or whatever, like he also, I don't think he could sit in it either.
He couldn't
sit.
So
they used to prop him up on like this kind of board thing. You know that exercise machine that they have like sometimes on like QVC? It like turns you upside down.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I imagine that they put him on, because the way that I've heard this thing
sounds
described,
like
it kind of like had a little bit of a tilt going, and he would just kind of like lay kind of on it because he couldn't sit or anything.
Wasn't that
couldn't eat either.
for Jack Haley too? Because he couldn't really sit in that.
That's possible. I
suit.
know about the lion, but it's possible that it extended to him too.
Yeah.
And I think like the prosthetics he had like around his face, like the weird like nose and like little cat mouth and everything. Yeah. I think that made it hard for him to eat, and I think I read somewhere that like he could only have like broth or something.
Oh yeah, whatever he could eat out of a straw, basically. Yeah. They went through some hardship.
It was tough.
I will say,
Judy Garland had to be like taped down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the character's supposed to be like a younger girl, and she was, developing.
Right.
And they used to have to like tape her down.
She was like
and be
17, 19, something like that?
She wasn't 19. No, I think she was maybe like between 15 and 16, something like that.
And they wanted Shirley Temple for that role originally.
They did.
Which
it would have made more sense if
would
you
have
think
been
about it.
fitting, yeah.
Because Shirley Temple was more of the age that Dorothy's supposed to be.
Yeah, and she was a child actress who maybe. By this time she probably was. But she was well known as a child actress, and like it sort of was a fit.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't available for some reason, right?
I don't know if she wasn't available or what happened. It might have been that Louis B. Mayer was like, no, we have to use this new up and coming girl who I think is going to be like a big deal. Like I really don't know.
Yeah.
Not that this was Judy Garland's first movie. It definitely was not. But
it was her breakout role.
I don't even know if we would consider it her breakout role, because she actually was like known already. Like she was in some stuff that was kind of.
But this made her a household name. I mean, you have to admit.
Yes. No,
This was her first really big. This made her a star.
Yeah.
She had been in some MGM movies already. She had.
I'm not sure if she'd been in any of the Andy Hardy stuff already at that point with Mickey Rooney.
No, not
at all.
I don't think so. I know
there were a few of them.
I don't think she had done any Mickey Rooney stuff yet, because I think she and Mickey Rooney got together shortly after this.
I don't know. Maybe
I don't.
Like messed up.
I don't think it was until the early 40s.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
The early 40s, she was already moving on to like solo stuff though, like
Well, but that's when those movies started. That's when the Mickey Rooney's. I don't know. I mean,
I guess so. I feel like there were a few in the 30s though.
I'm not going to use my one look up on this, but I'm pretty sure, at least in my mental timeline.
Just because I've seen a few of them, and I know that she looks even younger than she looked in The Wizard of Oz. So like
with Mickey Rooney though.
Yeah.
I've seen stuff of her younger, but I don't know.
Yeah. Think about it though, Frank, because Girl Crazy.
Yes.
With Mickey Rooney was in 44 or 45.
Yeah.
And they had already like done all of their like backyard musical type things.
That was already gone. It was done.
Yeah.
Like,
even though that movie kind of is one, but it was like they had stopped and then they came back together to like do that one.
Summerstock, was that one of theirs?
He wasn't in that.
He's not.
No.
Okay.
Summerstock was in the 50s.
Okay.
It was Gene Kelly.
Oh, yeah. Was that the one with Come On Get Happy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a totally different one. Sorry, I got my names mixed up on that one. But yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty confident about it. Well, if we're not going to look it up, we can just move on. I'm not going to use
on to the next.
Use my lookup for that one. I was going to say Ray Bolger's. You were talking about the prosthetics that Burt Lahr had to wear. Ray Bolger's prosthetics are really good, like really good in this movie. Like you can barely like. It really looks like a burlap sack that became a face.
It really does.
You know.
I also think that it's cool that like those weird movements that he does to look like doesn't have
tall
bones
and lanky.
or anything.
Yeah.
You know, he could do that himself.
That was his style. That was like his dancing style.
He was good at becoming like a rag doll.
Yes.
Like, I think that was what he did on the vaudeville circuit. Like,
yeah,
that was his thing.
It was. I mean, you can see there's actually plenty. I mean, he had done other MGM films before
this. He
this.
had a very interesting way of like moving his body.
Yes.
It was like rubber.
Yes. Yeah, rubbery is a good way of putting it.
And it worked perfectly.
And so when he's supposed to be made of straw, it fits.
Yeah, he has no bones. He just falls apart.
Right, exactly. He's so floppy and
I
just sort of...
believe that he was there originally to audition for the Tin Man. And he was like, I want to be this character because he was thinking like, I can do all these things, like make him look like he's heavy, like full of hay and all this stuff. Like I really want to do it.
Didn't he?
And I think he did it for them, and they're like, oh yeah, you should be this.
Didn't he go into either Louis B. Mayer's office or Victor Fleming's office or something like that, and like begged for the job, like begged like, I know you want me for Tin Man, but I really want this, and did his wife go with him and everything?
Maybe.
Like, I feel like that's a story that he told in the DVD bonus features where they have all those interviews with the cast, like for like the 50th anniversary or something.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're all like very old. I want to say that's
that could have happened.
That's
I don't really remember that part, but
and it's also interesting that because of the whole stuff with Buddy Ebsen losing the part, which apparently he was heartbroken about that he wasn't able to play the part because he really wanted it.
Super psyched to do it.
But Jack Haley was. This was back in the old studio system. This is the early days of. This was Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer made this movie, but then there was Fox, there were the Warner Brothers.
RKO.
RKO was still a big deal, yeah. And the way it worked was almost like sports teams where the actors were signed to a contract with a studio to do X number of films with that studio, and then when they had fulfilled the contract, they either were re-signed or let go or whatever. And so you were under contract to a studio.
It was like a factory type.
It was. And so like you belonged to the studio and made films for the studio. Which when you think about that and you think about old films like a Casablanca or something like that, classic movies, just consider that all these actors were like basically owned. They were like, think of the studio as like a sports team and they're the players for that team.
Mm-hmm. And they would sell certain actors out in weird deals for things.
Exactly like the way teams trade players.
Exactly.
Or we'll like, okay, we'll give you this player and $50,000 or whatever. Like they do that in baseball, for example. And they were doing that back then. So Jack Haley was under contract to Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Fox or RKO? I think Fox.
I believe it was Fox.
Yeah. And so to have him come over and do an MGM movie was like a big deal in the business. Like, okay, we're going to make a deal where he's going to be on loan to MGM, but I think he was finishing up another movie for Fox at the same time or something like that, and so there was some crossover. But anyway, it's an interesting little tidbit of movie trivia.
They did something similar. I'm not going to go into the specifics because I'm not even sure if I'm correct about this, but I know that there's something to do with when they were doing Gone with the Wind. Clark Gable, I think, was on loan from...
Now, Gone with the Wind, is that MGM? Selznick. But, well, so was Selznick was his own studio? No, but now that's owned by MGM, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember.
David O. Selznick.
He was the producer.
I believe that he was Louis B. Mayer's son-in-law.
Oh, really?
I think.
Oh, okay.
I keep saying I think because I don't want to give people the wrong information.
Well, that's worth a look up. But okay, so finish that story, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that he was... Selznick started at MGM, and then he wanted to do Gone with the Wind as kind of like an offshoot, I think, and they did some kind of trade so that he could get Clark Gable.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Gable was not MGM at the time. Was he with another studio? As far as you remember,
Gable I think started at RKO, and then I think he was traded to MGM, and then
okay.
He was a big deal, so I think he got moved around a lot.
I mean, he was
were
like
making bargains to have Clark Gable.
He was definitely like the biggest movie star in the world at that point, I think. So, yeah, okay, so here we go. It was
so big that even Hitler loved him.
Yes, that's true. That is true. I've heard that. Production, it was produced by Selznick International Pictures and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer.
Yep.
So you're absolutely right about that. So
was he his son-in-law?
That is the next part I'm going to look up here. But interesting. I didn't really realize that. I guess I didn't realize what a big presence Selznick was in the industry at the time. I don't know. He was dating he married Louis B. Mayer's daughter, so he was his son-in-law. You're right.
Nice.
Nailed
I'm
it.
impressed with myself.
Nailed it. Good job. Good job. So we've just got a few minutes left here, so maybe we can sort of do a lightning round of some things you want to, any final things you want to mention, songs, scenes, characters. We didn't talk about the Munchkins very much. Is there anything in particular you want to mention before we get out of here?
Well, other than that they were billed not individually, but rather as the Midget Singers.
The Midget Singers, not offensive in any way, shape, or form.
That could not happen
Like
now.
the entire... all like 100 or 200,
something like that.
Several hundred or dozens, if not hundreds, of individual little people were just billed as the Midget Singers.
The Midget Singers.
That's it.
That's what they were billed as.
Some of them were kids, some of them were adults.
Apparently, a lot of them were drunks.
Yes, that is something Judy Garland.
And kind of pervs.
Judy Garland kind of made up her own lore about.
She was a very funny person.
She was hilarious, but for decades after the movie came out, she'd be on talk shows, she'd be on Johnny Carson or whatever. Jack Parr. She would make up stories that were patently untrue about things, about like Munchkin actors trying to pick her up or whatever.
Skirt shots or whatever.
And some of them were true, but many of them were just false.
Yeah. I do like to believe that a lot of them were drunk.
But they're all amusing. All the stories are amusing. True or not. Any other mentions or...
We could talk about some differences between the books and the movie.
Yeah, so
which I didn't read the book, so I can't say everything, but I know like a really big one is that the slippers were made ruby, just for the Technicolor aspect of the movie.
They were silver? Yeah.
In the book.
And Judy Garland's actual ruby slippers are in the Smithsonian.
It's there.
You can go see them in Washington, D.C.
And
I haven't
actually
seen
them. She had tiny little feet.
No, she was like 16 years old, so.
And she was really short.
And she was tiny.
She had maybe like a size 5 foot, and I'm like, what is this thing?
Wow. Yeah, but they sold at auction for some ridiculously high price, and they now belong to the Smithsonian. Pretty cool. I think this is definitely one of the most iconic films in American history. It's like we said, like every kid has seen it. They say more people have seen it than any other movie. It's a classic. It's still played on TV like all the time. No. Apparently, it wasn't really a huge hit until like it was successful, but it became a bigger institution in the 50s when TV came around and kids could watch it on TV all the time.
Right, because it ushered it in for a new generation of kids.
And ever since then, it's been just a staple.
You know who
American
we didn't
TV.
talk about very much is Margaret Hamilton.
Oh, sure.
Who played the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right, she got her face burned off and we barely talked about her.
She got her face burned off, and that's the only thing we talked about. She's awesome in this. And also, she was such a good sport, too, because, she plays a mean person, obviously, but she was so sweet in real life.
Yeah.
She loved children. She was a teacher, actually.
Mm-hmm.
She loved kids. She loved that she could be in this movie because she grew up with the book. And she was just so thrilled that so when she heard like they want you to be in the Wizard of Oz, she was like, "Oh, what role do they want me to play?" They're like, "The witch," and she was like, "Oh, I'll still do it.
Yeah.
I love it. Like I don't even care." And then she had so much fun, and she never got sick of it. They had her until like the end of her life. I think she died in the 70s, something like that. They had her playing like in like repeat performances of certain things. Like she'd go on like Christmas specials that like someone would have and be like the Wicked Witch of the West. Like she loved that role.
I didn't realize
she
that.
She loved that kids. I mean, she didn't like the kids were afraid of her, but like she loved that she was part of something that she loved as a kid that other kids like now. You know? And she was a really good sport about it. She's a very sweet lady. She's funny too.
She was very funny.
Anything that you've seen her, any like interviews, stuff like that. She loved talking about the movie. She was like the opposite of Harrison Ford talking about Star Wars.
It's so true.
Who never wants to talk about Star Wars. She was always like so happy to talk about it. She loved it. She was very appreciative that like this gave her a whole new life.
Yeah.
A new legacy. You know?
She was like that person who's just like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy people like what I did.
I'm happy to be a part of this iconic movie.
Yeah, I'm happy to be part of this bigger thing, and like glad that my name will be remembered for this.
Exactly.
This thing that I care about, and now people will remember me for it. Yeah, it is really cool, and she was very, very sweet, like older lady in her later years, and
very unlike the character she played.
Yes, and talked very fondly about the whole production.
Yep.
And she did a phenomenal job in the movie.
Not bad for someone who got their face burned off.
Yeah, really. And when you think about it, she is that image of the Wicked Witch of the West is what we think about at Halloween every year when it with like witches. Like all the iconography is always that with like the green face and the black hat and black robes riding on a broom. Literally comes straight out of that.
And it's funny too because there's another tidbit about the casting for the witch. They wanted a different actress originally. They had her do screen tests and makeup and costume tests, and her name was Gail Sondergaard.
Oh yes, I know this name.
She was this very, very beautiful actress, and they wanted her to play the witch. And the reason that she didn't get the role was because even with the ugly witch makeup, she looked too nice.
Mm-hmm.
She was very pretty and very naturally pretty, and she just like her pretty eyes and everything, like
she
just
looked
like shone through the makeup. And they're like, we can't make her like evil and ugly.
We can't ugly her enough.
We cannot uglify this woman enough. Which I like being Margaret Hamilton. I'm like, you only hired me because I am
uglier
by nature? Excuse me.
And she joked about that too.
She did though.
I feel like that was a thing that she made. She had like she had these stories that she would, when she would be interviewed, she'd like bring these, like as people do when they're asked the same questions over and over again. And she kind of had this almost like a comedy routine of like all her stories about the making of the film, and that was one of them. It's sort of like, oh, so I got hired because I was uglier? Great. Like,
yeah,
awesome.
Exactly.
Anyway, very funny. Well, I highly recommend, if you haven't watched this movie in a while, we've all seen it. If you haven't seen it in some time, rewatch it. Rewatch it with your kids or your family or just a loved one or even just on your own, and really, really appreciate it for what it is and for like the treasure that it is. And think about just how, think about 1939. Like we're talking just, before World War II and all this kind of stuff. Like, think about how long ago that was and how good the movie looks. And it's actually been very well preserved over the years. If you buy the newest, digital or Blu-ray copies of it, and it looks pristine. They have preserved this movie so well. It looks amazing. I just saw it on TV last night, actually, and I was just amazed at how good it looks in HD. So check it out and enjoy it. But until that time, be sure to check us out on the internet at beerwithgeeks.com. You can follow us on Twitter at beerwithgeeks. You can email us at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com. Find us on anywhere podcasts are found, including Overcast, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Music. Anywhere you wanna find us, we'll be there. On iTunes, Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a review or a rating. Please make it good. Tell us what you like about the show. Tell us what movies you'd like us to cover. Sort of this old movie club thing we've been doing as of late. Let us know what movies you'd like to hear us talk about there. You can also find us at thoughtbubbleaudio.com, where you'll find not just this show, but also Supergirl TV Talk and Hate Watch with us and Academy Rewind and a whole bunch of other shows. Some new shows coming pretty soon. Check us out there. And of course, if you enjoy the show and you want to support us, tell a friend about us, or head on over to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio, where you can, for as little as $1 a month, you can support us and get early access to episodes and some special Patreon exclusive episodes. We just recently put out a Patreon exclusive for Academy Rewind. They talked about 1978's Oscars, and of course among that was Star Wars, and in the main Academy Rewind episode you'll find the whole discussion of Star Wars itself, but in the Patreon exclusive there is a whole episode just about Star Wars and talking about the legacy of Star Wars and all of that, and really, really fun, interesting discussion between Tim and Palmer. So I encourage you to check that out at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. But it has been a pleasure talking The Wizard of Oz with you, Steph.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Steph.
Thanks for coming on the show. It's a lot of fun. We'll have you back sometime.
I hope so, because there's nothing I love more than sharing my snobbery about the old studio system. It's very rare that I get to dispense these knowledge bombs.
I know. It's so rare you get to have an outlet for this stuff. So Anyway, it was a lot of fun talking, and hope you guys had fun listening. And until next time, cheers.